good morning, good afternoon, and maybe even good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is Samantha. I'm excited to welcome you to our webinar today, Driving Excellence, a New Era of Mobility and AI-Powered Service Lifecycle in Automotive. It's wonderful to have everybody joining us today, remotely as it is. And we're excited to kind of explore some ideas around the transformation and impact that AI has had on mobility, as well as the service lifecycle management and automotive industry. Before we get started, just some quick housekeeping to kind of let you know how this is going to work for this webinar. We are recording it, and it will be available on demand after the event. During the webinar, Leo and I will be speaking. We won't be taking questions during, but we will take questions after. So as you think of questions or comments, feel free to throw those in the chat here on Zoom chat. We will definitely try and save some time at the very end and answer those questions. If we don't get to your question and we run out of time, we can always address you privately afterwards. And then also, if you experience any issues, technical difficulties, if you lose audio, visual, or what have you, again, feel free to throw in a chat. Our technical team will happy to assist you as fast as possible so you can enjoy the webinar today. All right, so let's get into our topic and how this agenda looks for today. We're going to be exploring, like I mentioned, some ideas, some past, present, future ideas on the rapid transformation of the automotive sector through AI and telematics and data that we've all kind of been seeing in the industry. It's hard not to notice unless you're, not into the internet and social media and just driving around dealerships. It's hard to avoid electric vehicle models and seeing all the new stuff that's out there. So we're going to dive into some mobility insights, talking about electrification, talking about its effect on vehicle maintenance, repairs, and then also on the after-sale side, talking about collaborative strategies for OEMs, suppliers, dealers, and we'll look at some real-world use cases that we're innovating and looking to improve all of those processes. So today we are privileged to have our another speaker, Leo Roeks, with us. He's the author of You Are the Traffic, his recently published book, which he'll talk to us about. He is a leader in mobility and warranty management. Previously, Leo worked at Ford. He was a chief of Ford Performance in Europe, leading development and brand strategies for Ford Performance vehicles. And he also has warranty experience as a global warranty director at Ford. So we're going to get some input from him on after sales processes as well. And then I'd like to introduce myself, Samantha Horton. I work at Tavant for the last 6 years now as a business architect and somewhat of an expert in automotive service lifecycle management at Tavant. I came from manufacturing background. I've worked as a warranty administrator on different companies. So I've seen the struggle firsthand and was excited to jump over to the vendor side and software side of things and bring solutions firsthand and be able to work on those solutions. So today I get to actively engage customers, manufacturers, suppliers, dealers, see what they're going through on a day-to-day and understand how software can help them. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. And then just a quick introduction of Tavant and who Tavant is. So it's a software technologies company. We're committed to transforming the aftermarket operations through data-driven, AI-powered solutions. Our technologies aim to provide comprehensive aftermarket insights, as well as consulting services, analytics tools, and our service lifecycle management tool. If you're not familiar with those, feel free to reach out to us after the webinar. Be happy to talk to you a little bit more about that. So yeah, thanks for joining. We're going to go ahead and get started and get right into the webinar. Hopefully you can see the screen here and we'll have some slides to kind of go along with our topics today. So we'll go ahead and let Leo kick it off.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks, good introduction. Yeah, a little bit more about myself. As Sam mentioned, the major stages in my career so far. I spent 27 years at Ford, of which 14 years at warranty, actually, as the European warranty manager and also the global warranty manager. At the end of 2019, I left Ford and I started to decided to write a book. It's in German. Obviously, if you can read it, it's on the market. You can buy it. It's around urban mobility, and later a little bit more about that. And I joined Tavand as a warranty consultant, and in parallel, I'm working with Automotive Sport Channel, which is a TV channel from Automotive Sport. Automotive Sport is one of the bigger car magazines in Germany and in Europe. And I'm working on a TV format called Move, and that's everything around the new mobility, whether that is trains or trucks or cars or bicycles, everything that's going into a future mobility. So if we go to the next slide, actually, what is mobility? Yeah, and I asked Wiki, and basically it's movement of people and things. Also, you can move ideas, which is a bit kind of holistic, and it's around individual mobility. So that's basically travel from and to work, and also travel. And it also talking about sustainable transport. So that's basically the definition of mobility. And if you look at mobility on the next slide, how that was in the past, and obviously the drawings are not completely serious, but this is what's in the past. So different means of transportation depending on where you want to go, how fast you want to be, and how much money you want to spend. And if you then go to the next slide, that mobility for today is basically the same. Yes, we lost some horses and we lost some zeppelins, but in principle, it's the same. Yeah, it's just more and it is faster. Yeah, I've read some data that people actually mean that the radius, the distance that people traveled in the past, the Romans even, yeah, they didn't travel further. It just took a lot more time, and it was a bit more not as easy as it is right now. And obviously now it's faster. But so that mobility hasn't changed over the past decades. So actually, when we talk mobility and later around data, what is the actual issue? And I live in Germany, and obviously there is a European focus on what I'm saying, but I'm pretty sure that you can translate that into the Far East and into the Asia Pacific and North American areas. Some people that are coming to power in North America again believe there is no global warming, and that's what you see on the right hand side. There is a cohesion between the global temperature and carbon dioxide in the air. That's for sure. And also, if you look at some numbers, and we talk data a lot today in Germany, there's a discussion about we're just doing 2.1% of the global CO2 emission, but that doesn't sound a lot, but is around 11 tons per head, and the global average is around 4. So even in countries like Germany, there's a lot more to do and a lot. Okay, if we go to the next slide, the other issue around mobility is inner space, inner city space, and not sure you can actually read it, but if you go in the middle in the green section, it's around the area of the vehicle, so the projected area from the top. And that has grown, like on a Mini Cooper, for instance, the third from the bottom, with over 60%. And these vehicles, and you see that there's nothing to do. It's actually growing and growing. And there is a migration going into cities, and that development is still going on. It is slowing down a bit, but obviously there is the cities are growing with all the different issues and difficulties around that. The next issue is, and that's around on the next slide, Sam. Thank you. It's around public opinion around electric vehicles. Yeah, there is an environmental perception of batteries. The early vehicles were not that good looking, and there was a typical issue on range that keeps coming back. And actually, if you look at the blue circles, the pie charts, between the different generations, the expectation of range is not that different. It's between 80 and 160 kilometers. That's where the biggest portion of those generations are. And actually, we all, as we're on the phone, we're doing 40 to 50 kilometers per day. So the range is actually not a big issue at all. What is potentially an issue for especially OEMs is in the green columns at the top, where the baby boomers, and I'm one of them, yeah, they are happy to not have a vehicle, yeah, to get rid of their vehicle. And that is a development and an opinion that is potentially fairly dangerous for OEMs, because especially the baby boomers, they are still into vehicles. Yeah, that's where the money is, and they are very happy to spend a lot of money on vehicles. So that is something that we definitely need to keep in our head. So on the next slide, I try to summarize the mobility challenges for OEMs and suppliers. And again, I will not run through them. If you're interested in getting more details, obviously, you know, some marketing for my book. But running through these here is customer acceptance, the change of the bottom line, customer relationship, and Sam will come back to that and at a later stage today, and also digital innovation, which is really something that OEMs and suppliers, especially in Europe, are struggling with. Also, volatility, uncertainty in legislation. The complexity in getting different products on the markets, having combustion engines, hybrids, and electric vehicles that needs to be developed, and nobody knows really how quickly the development will go into electric vehicles. At least the development of the market will go in there. Yeah, and autonomous vehicles is another one where AI can definitely help. So again, you can read through these ones fairly quicker than I can do, a lot of wordy slides. The next one is a bit of well, for me, a funny slide. You know, that is my problem solving technique. If you have a problem, yes, can you do something about it? No, then why worry? And if you have a problem, you can do something about it, you do it, just go after it, and you don't need to worry either. Yeah, so that's a bit of an funny way of looking at problems. The next one is, again, and we looked at all of these, and for me, the answer on all these mobility challenges is actually looking at data and the use of data, and especially AI is obviously very, very powerful in doing that. And again, Sam will come back to that as well. I've highlighted one, and that's the clash of cultures, and that's the next page. And obviously, this is not meant to be readable, but you can see the different areas around transportation. Yeah, there are so many companies coming in, especially new companies coming in. So the current OEMs and the current suppliers need to actually deal with that, yeah, and make sure that you stay on top of your market, you stay on top of your products, but definitely stay on top of your customers. And again, Sam will come back to that in the service lifecycle managers and how to do that. So the next one are the challenges for OEMs and suppliers. Yeah, and you see some of the in there, connectivity at the bottom, extended warranty at the top. Customer expectation is definitely changing. Yeah, in the good old days of warranty, the OEMs were going after suppliers and going after dealers to make sure that they have the right claims. Yeah, at the moment, that is also being done still, but warranty has really developed into a customer-centric process, and making sure that products are right the first time, actually before they leave the plant, so the customer doesn't see that, but also over the customer experience of the vehicle life cycle, making sure that warranty is in the forefront, and you can actually make customers fairly happy with that. And I think that's it. The answer to all of this, sorry, Sam, is for me intelligent digitalization. That is where the little boy for the sumo guy comes back with, and that's over to you, Sam.
So yeah, before I kind of go into my topics on the service lifecycle piece, I wanted to get your thoughts, Leo, on how the adoption of electric vehicles is going in Europe. For us in the US and North America, I think it's definitely slower than the OEMs were expecting. There was all, just a year or two ago, the commercials you would see from the big three and even Honda, Toyota in the US was all about zero carbon emissions, net neutrality by 2030, 2050, and kind of setting themselves up for some really big targets. But really, all of those targets, I mean, kind of depend on customers buying the electric vehicles, because if they're not buying them, OEMs aren't selling them, they're going to stop making them. And that's kind of what we've seen as a huge slowdown. I mean, they're still releasing models, they're still launching models, which I got to see a little bit of in the Detroit Auto Show this past weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a lot of ICE vehicles coming out and hybrid models as well. And the EVs are kind of slowing down a little bit. So I'm just curious, for Europe, is it the same or different?
Yeah, it's fairly the same. Potentially, the root cause behind it are a bit different. There is a push in Europe to get, obviously, a CO2 reduction. That's one. And also getting ICE out of ICE vehicles at some point in time. And what is happening is that was decided by the European government or the European Parliament, but that's now kind of being questioned again. So that is the uncertainty that's coming through. So customers are basically withholding buying electric vehicles because they don't know what's going on. Whether the subsidy that was part of the Dutch government, Norwegian government, and also was part in Germany, that has stopped almost over the weekend. So the electric vehicle market almost collapsed based on that. The other thing is that, and you see that on the motorcycle industry, the motorcycle industry, electrification of that is coming from the bottom. So they start with smaller motorcycles, scooters and all that kind of stuff. The electric vehicles, automobiles, came from the top. So you see a lot of very expensive vehicles currently on the market, and the OEMs missed to come back with affordable, like $20,000 to $30,000 vehicles at this point in time. They are coming. There are certain brands like Renault, like Dacia. They have vehicles on the market, or will have vehicles on the market very, very soon. The other thing is the OEMs in Europe are struggling with the history. And what I'm trying to say is the uncertainty of getting out of ICE engines or hybrids into electrical, that is basically forcing them to run all three in parallel.
Yeah.
The Chinese manufacturers basically didn't start with ICE vehicles. They immediately started with electric vehicles, which is giving them a big advantage. So that's one. The other thing is the development of vehicles takes almost double the time in Europe than it takes in China, because of the processes that are used, etc. So there's a lot of rationale behind it. There is still this angst of potential customers in terms of range. There is a backlog of charging equipment in the market. Some markets are better. Holland is pretty good. Norway is pretty good. Germany is kind of okay. France is getting a lot better. For the other markets, I can't speak about them. But that is definitely something that needs to get big attention over in the coming time. So long answer. Yeah. Sorry for that.
No, thanks. I appreciate it. It's always good to kind of be aware globally what's happening, because definitely things can, different regions can affect markets in other regions. And it sounds like definitely China's kind of got a leg up when it comes to manufacturing EVs. Their plans and everything are more set up and ready for it. Whereas, like you said, North America is kind of catching up. Europe's kind of catching up on some of that. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there is a clear process in developing something new. And for me, that's having, first of all, a vision. It's like the Northern Star, which you potentially never achieve. The second one is getting the concept. And if you have a concept ready, discuss it as a third step with all the parties involved, whether that are governments or cities or whatever customers, and then actually put it in place. What you see sometimes happening in some cities is that they start with the last one. They have a good idea and try to put that in place, and then for whatever reason it doesn't work. So there's also kind of trying to keep the ship afloat in the right direction. There's also something that is not going on, in my view.
Gotcha. Got to communicate first before just throwing stuff out there. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So talking about communicating with customers, I was at the Detroit Auto Show for 2025 last weekend, which was really exciting. I'm local here in Detroit, so I get to go to see some of those things. And I just threw in a couple of pictures for entertainment purposes. Also, it's never a bad time when you're looking at a nice car. So we got to see some of the futuristic ones that aren't on the market yet, but are coming. So this one from Chrysler, the VW, the old school bus now electrified with a new look, but kind of also that same hippie vibe that they've always had. So that was pretty cool to see. And then also one from Cadillac, which was really cool. I didn't get a great picture of it, but the seats, everything looks like it's almost hovering inside the cab of the vehicle, which is definitely a little different, look and feel when you're sitting in a car. So that was definitely, again, kind of a little bit different, but also it's still a vehicle, right? And then also the big push was, besides it being electric, the autonomous driving was a huge feature that everybody was talking about. And then the best part, the ride-alongs. So they actually have several different areas in the arena that we were in for the show, because it is snowing outside, so this is all indoors. All of the ride-alongs. So I think almost every company, except some of the higher end, Lamborghini, Porsche, they didn't have any electric vehicles for you to ride in, but all the other manufacturers had cars there that you could jump in, take a quick ride around. They had drivers kind of, showcasing the performance, the takeoff, the braking, and then of course all of the fun computer electronics inside as well. So that was pretty cool. I think it's a great way to kind of help the public. This shouldn't be happening just in Detroit. They should be promoting these all around the US and Europe to kind of help customers see that, these are reliable vehicles. These are easy to use, easy to charge. I have one. I love it. I think they're great, but maybe I'm a little biased. So yeah, we're going to kind of jump tracks a little bit here and talk a little bit more about the service life cycle and how electrification, AI, we're talking a lot about AI, AI agents and how that's affecting the supply chain, the OEMs, the suppliers, the dealers. And when I first started at Tavant in 2019, 6 years ago, our biggest conversation that we were having with customers and manufacturers were, we've got data, but we don't have it all in the same system. We've got data, but it takes, a group to move it from one place to another, from one system to another. And by the time we get it, we're way late on finding issues and dealing with, rough repairs and expensive warranty claims. So that's where we saw, not just from Tavant, but other companies as well, a single platform type of solutions coming out from a lot of different software providers. And then it went from, okay, great, now we've got all this data and we've got it all in one place. Holy cow, what do we do with all of this data? We know there's benefit in it somewhere, but it's a needle in a haystack right now because they were buried under data. And the great part about the timing of AI coming out was it just followed that cloud single platform structure that we saw in technology for manufacturers, suppliers, for dealers. So it kind of started to answer some questions of what do we do with all of this data for the customer, for the manufacturer. Started finding trends, identifying issues automatically, which was great. But we're still seeing some holdups, some slowness on the manufacturer side, some struggles, especially with the slower adoption of the EVs, creating more models. So like you said, they've got ICE vehicles, they've got hybrid vehicles, now they've got EVs, and they all have different policies. They all have different terms and conditions of what they're covering, what they're not covering. And if you look at the passenger versus commercial vehicles themselves are very unique, built to customer specifications. So those manufacturers that we're talking to and working with have even more coverages and policies that they have to manage. And it gets to be a burden, a huge burden on the administrative side of that and managing that for the manufacturer, but also for the dealers. How do they know what's under warranty when they've got so many different models that they're working with and repairing? It's kind of a big mess for everybody. So what we're looking at solution-wise is using the AI-powered platform on top of the warranty platform to help manage all of those policies. So we're talking about AI tools that are able to read, analyze text. So all you need to do is give it the information, and it's going to be able to determine, hey, you've got this new model and you've got this new policy, but it fits right in with the previous model policy. So you don't need to create a new one. Let's start organizing and kind of creating only data that we need to create and managing what we already have, and not overlapping, confusing policies and making it more confusing for dealers. On the other side of that, we're starting to see, I should say, some more communication between dealers, suppliers, and OEMs, but I think there's still a long way to go there. And I know there's a huge concern when it comes to data security. And I'm not going to talk, I'm not a security specialist, but I do know that there are ways to safely share information in real time with the cloud platforms that are out there today. And I think that's where we're going to see some warranty dollars being saved, some faster solutions being found when OEMs, manufacturers, and suppliers are kind of more partnering together rather than a blame game type of scenario. So excited to see some more collaboration between manufacturers and suppliers with sharing that data. And then finally,
Yeah, Sam. So we actually need that because the electric vehicles are funny animals. There was other technical things happening to them. You would expect that the battery is actually deteriorating over time. That's a big issue because if the battery is gone, then the vehicle is useless because the battery is that expensive. Exactly, but that's not an issue. Yeah, we've tested lots of vehicles, even 8-year-old Teslas. The battery is still at 85 to 90% state of health. So that's really, really great. But the other thing is brakes and tires. Because of these vehicles are very, very heavy, tires is potentially big issues. And you would expect brakes as well to be an issue because of the weight, but it's actually the other way around because people use the one pedal driving and do not brake at all. So that's another thing. So it's also the higher time in service stuff, which is normally outside of warranty. Every OEM and supplier and also customers need to learn really, really quickly, and jump on these issues before they get out of hand.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're talking about like service and maintenance of electric vehicles, and there was a big concern when the EVs first came out that dealers were going to go out of business, right? Because they don't need as much maintenance, and so what are dealers going to do to kind of with all of that missing service and monetary value coming in? So, but again, EVs aren't the only vehicle on the road. ICE and hybrid vehicles are still there and still requiring a lot of service and maintenance as well. And even the EVs themselves, there's a lot of electrical components that can fail, that are going to need replacements and repairs. So another big concern when it comes to service and service lifecycle is the lack of technicians that are able to work on EVs, hybrids, ICE vehicles. That's a lot to ask of one person when you consider all the different models that are coming out, as well as the older models that are still under warranty or not under warranty, but still coming in for service and repairs. And we're seeing a lot of turnaround in that service technician industry with dealerships as well. So again, I think a big answer to the problem can be the AI software solution, but it's a matter of sharing that information with dealers in a way that they can use it, that's user friendly for a technician. You know, they've always had these DTC codes, these DTC computer awareness where they can pull up a code and it gives them real basic information. But with an AI model attached to that, you've got DTC codes. Now you've also got warranty claim history. You've got labor repair times from the manufacturer. You've got bill of material information. All of that can be used really quickly with an AI model to kind of give them the best possible scenario, best possible or most likely scenario of what's failed, and the steps to start taking to determine, is that the correct failure? And if so, then here's the repair steps. It should be pretty simple. And we're seeing some manufacturers moving into that and helping their dealers in that way. And I think, you know, it's a little cost on the manufacturing side, but overall it's going to save on warranty dollars big time when dealers aren't throwing parts at a vehicle and going, well, I thought it was this, and now I thought it was that, and now I've got 5 different parts and I finally fixed the issue. You know, that's hurting customer satisfaction, and it's also hurting warranty dollars. But I think there's definitely some new solutions out there. It's just a matter of implementing them and trying them out to see how it works and how best you can help your dealers figure out those issues. So yeah, kind of on the same lines, we're talking about industry, Internet of Things, telematics, all of the sensors that electric vehicles come with. Even ICE vehicles are coming with them more and more today. So even our quote unquote simple, easy to work on ICE vehicles are getting more and more computer specific and electronic heavy. But especially on the commercial side, which are some of the projects I've been working on, we're seeing some great benefits gained around fuel costs, improvement of fleet management, just overall efficiency, reducing in accidents. The safety level has definitely gone up for drivers, commercial drivers that are on the road nonstop. And definitely some improved quality. And I think a lot of that, like you mentioned, comes from customer expectations. Customers know there's technology out there and there's options. So if they see one company doing it, they're going to expect, you know, their brand, their brand loyalty to be, you know, keeping up with the competition. And I kind of like that we've got new companies out there, new manufacturers, Tesla, Rivian, there's Lucid, to kind of help push the boundaries a little bit. They're looking at different dealer models, different ways of communicating with customers through apps, and that just kind of pushes all of the older manufacturers to step up their game, which is great, I think, for everyone involved. Yeah. And then, like I mentioned, working with commercial vehicles and commercial manufacturers, using AI here when it comes to identifying issues, identifying trends. It's been a great help. We're seeing some improvements, some benefits that we've listed here. So we'll get into some use cases, some actual project and customer use cases in the next couple slides. All right, so I have talked about a little bit about and harping on maybe a little bit on collaboration between the manufacturers, the suppliers, the dealers. So as I'm working with some of these manufacturers, what I've been excited to see is bringing the suppliers and the dealers. You know, not every dealer and every supplier can join in on a project when it comes to implementing software or AI models, but bringing a small subset group, a pilot group, in ahead of time makes a huge difference. When they've got some ownership, when they've got some voice, and they're feeling heard and seen about, you know, what they're looking for in a solution and a strategy with their manufacturer or supplier, makes a big difference in the overall project, but also the outcome of the project. We always think we know what someone else is dealing with until we actually get in there and start talking to them. And maybe we had an idea, but we don't always hit the mark right on the head, right? You know, first try. So it's always great to see that collaboration happening. Some other areas that we've seen working with manufacturers, we talked about a lot of different complex models, complex vehicles, which leads to complex coverages, warranty questions. So we're looking at AI agents that can help dealers pop in a question. Hey, is this under warranty? And all the system really needs is some basic information to identify that. So we're saying, give us your vehicle information, give us your failure information, and it's going to run through all the possible scenarios of what warranty coverages might apply, and giving the dealer that heads up information right away. So when if we're talking about commercial vehicles, those typically come in with 5, 6, 8 different problems, because when they're down, they're losing money. So it's go time as soon as those come into the shop. So the dealer needs a quick answer on all of those issues. In the past, they'd have to go enter, they'd have to actually fix the problem, and then enter all of that work order information into a warranty claim and kind of just see what happens, what's my outcome. Today, we're looking at removing a lot of those steps. So if all of the information's in the work order, why do we need a warranty claim? Can we connect with DMS systems? The same way we're saying connect with the DMS solution to send them the repair steps and the diagnostic steps that they should be taking. How about we take information from the DMS and get that into a warranty claim right away? Give them the warranty related question and answers that they have before they even start working on the vehicle. Give them the ability to have that information and ownership with the customer conversation. Hey, this is what's covered. This is what's not covered. As a customer, I like to know up front before I say, yeah, just go ahead and fix that. How much is it going to cost me? So it's always helpful for customer satisfaction as well to be providing your dealerships with as much information upfront as possible. And we see ways to do that. Again, it's just a matter of getting there. On the other side, on the flip side, we're working with a large commercial vehicle manufacturer, and they're working with so many different suppliers for different components, and every supplier's got a little bit different warranty term or condition that they're saying will cover it, but only for this type of scenario or for this length of time. So when all these different trucks and buses are going out, they've got these different terms and conditions. Again, we're trying to find ways to make it easier for the administrator to manage those with an AI agent that can not only analyze and kind of read what policies are built into the system, but also generate a new one. Hey, I need to set up a new policy or coverage for a vehicle. It shouldn't be that difficult. But when you're managing thousands and thousands of policies with all of their different rules and terms, it can be really time consuming. So trying to find ways to ease that burden. But also, now that you've got the right policy set up at the right time, ideally, this makes it easier for supplier recovery as well. Finding ways to connect to those suppliers in real time has also been a new fun struggle. Again, you wouldn't think it would. We've got all these cloud-based systems. So we're looking at ways that we can connect suppliers and OEMs. And not that they're not connecting, they're chatting, they're coming together, but typically only after an issue has been raised. I see the automotive industry as being a very reactive industry, and I'd like to see these tools make it more of a proactive. We're starting to see the AI data with IoT and telematic information work for ways of preventing failures, recommending maintenance before a failure occurs. But we're not really seeing that in the passenger market yet. I don't know that we really ever will. We'll see. If it comes out, it'll probably be a subscription that's going to cost the customer some more money. But in any case, it's exciting to see some of that IoT telematic data being used, especially in not just automotive, but ag and construction equipment. They're really starting to kind of kick off when it comes to, hey, we can now sense low pressure, hydraulic fluid leakages, temperature issues, which over time can really cause an issue. But if you catch it early on, especially when the system's got all this history of when it caused issues in the past. Now it can really kind of start to pinpoint when it might happen again. Bring it in, get it fixed before it actually fails and breaks other components as well. There's no way that's not saving the customer and the manufacturer in the long run warranty dollars. So yeah, I think that was mostly what we wanted to cover when it comes to when we're talking about service lifecycle, electrification, and just a quick blurb about Tavant and some of the offerings that we bring when we're talking about AI. We have our manufacturing analytics platform that we do use. And as you can see here, we've got a lot of different AI models that we offer. We're working on continually adding to this. So it's not everything, but just some of the ones that I'd like to point out: the warranty.ai, identifying potential warranty fraudulent claims. And we're not talking about not necessarily intentional fraud, but fraud when it comes to, hey, I didn't know what was warranty and what wasn't, so I just threw everything in the claim. And finding those types of trends so you can find ways to help the dealer become more knowledgeable. Warranty forecasting, talking about accruals and how best to account for warranty dollars in the future. Field AI, talking about that field service. So as we're looking at EVs coming into the market, we're seeing Tesla, like I mentioned, we're seeing Rivian and others kind of challenge what that dealership relationship looks like. They're really on top of those guys because it's part of the company, and that's great for them. And some of the other manufacturers are going to have to find ways to be close with their dealers in other ways. They don't own them, but they can definitely send them information through DMS systems, through other platforms, to really provide them the same information and have that same close relationship that other manufacturers are working on. Which brings me to knowledge AI. Like I mentioned earlier, making sure that your technician has the information that they need up front. So when they start seeing a new issue on a new model that just got launched, instead of spending hours and hours trying to figure out where to even start, send them those diagnostic steps, get them the information so they're ready to handle those repairs and when they come in, because that's definitely one of the big customer concerns that we're hearing, is that I buy this new model, but who's going to work on it? You know, they've just sold their first, EV from this dealership. How do I know they're going to have technicians that know what's wrong with it if I have to bring it in? So I think that would definitely help ease a lot of concerns, having a good service experience the first time you bring a new vehicle to the dealership. And then for some of our manufacturers that we talk to, not everybody's ready for a big rollout. We have some options when it comes to launching a new AI system or model. Whether you just want to workshop and kind of see and brainstorm with us, give us some of your information, your ideas, or your bottlenecks that you're working to kind of work on and improve. We could do a simple, quick 4-hour workshop with you to kind of brainstorm and see where we might be able to find some resolutions, which can then lead into a POC, proofs of concept, to identify some more specific areas, share some data, and then actually implement it in a proof of concept, and then the pilot deployment. So as long as you're seeing those benefits, you're seeing the ROI from those, we can go into a full out rollout as well. And then just some quick history about Tavant if you're not familiar with us. We do bring 25 years of experience to the aftermarket space. Not just automotive, we work with a lot of HVAC customers, heavy equipment, ag construction equipment, like I mentioned, and even building materials, roofing supplies, and things like that. So happy to talk to anybody after the webinar if there's any questions about who we are, what we do. And now we're going to kind of move into the Q&A portion and see if there's any questions from the group here. All right, so we've got one question for Leo. How does AI impact the future of automotive? How does AI impact the future of the automotive service life cycle? So how do you see, Leo, how do you see AI impacting that service life cycle?
Well, first of all, I believe that the complete service life cycle is actually the, how do you call it, the weapon to be successful in the future. Because selling a vehicle and then basically leaving the customer alone during the warranty period or even after the warranty period will not work in the future. So I think this a complete service for a customer is really crucial. For instance, if you buy an electric vehicle, then I believe the manufacturer should come up with the wall box, yeah, and install that for you, so that issue or that stress is going away as well. And for me, the data, well, one thing that will happen is autonomous driving. And the trick around autonomous driving is using AI. You can compare it, or well, actually not compare it to railroad. And a railroad, the track is actually steering the train. And in the automotive industry, the car or the automobile is actually expecting to cope with all the situations that it can handle. Or that can occur. And I think the only mean of getting that fixed and getting that under a belt and work with that is AI. So that's from a technical perspective, but also from a service perspective, actually knowing your customer is the thing, and the data is potentially there already. It can be used or cannot be used depending on legislation, different countries. But actually start using that data, how the vehicle is used, where it's used, how it's working. That is giving a dealer or OEM the possibility to keep close to the customer and therefore improve customer loyalty. So it's a long-winded answer, maybe a bit wobbly, but that's how I see AI helping the service life cycle and the service experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've kind of touched a little bit on it. On my side, from the software side, we're seeing AI just make everything go a little bit faster, find trends faster and earlier. Ideally, if there is a recall need, finding that before NHTSA does, at least in North America. We've got issues with, I was just reading about Ford and Tesla having some really big fines because they were slow to act on a potential recall. And it was a huge safety issue. So crazy to me that's even still that's an issue for manufacturers with all of the data and AI models that can be running and identifying trends and
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. For me, I always kept saying warranty is the biggest single waste in the company, and it's actually a double lose. Your customer has a bad experience with your product, and it costs you money from an OEM perspective. Yeah. So that's definitely what you don't want to have happen, and therefore speed, knowing your issues really, really quick, is something that you have to do. The funny thing is, in my fourth working periods, obviously you have an issue that arises at some point in time, and the question I kept asking, well, when did you see the first issue? And they come back and say, well, 6 months ago. But that's potentially a one-off, but also potentially a start of a tsunami. And AI definitely helps you to understand, what is it, a one-off or a two-off, or something happening with that particular customer with this particular circumstances he's using the vehicle in, or is it the beginning of a disaster? And that is where, from a money perspective, first of all, but also from a customer satisfaction perspective, and also from a dealer perspective in terms of having parts available, AI is a big help.
Yeah. All right. So we've got another question here. How can this software integrate with to provide a seamless experience for customer, the company service center, where warranty is processed, and into the accounting internal side of the business to calculate and ensure warranty is being accounted for? That's a really long, great question, actually. So at least, I can only answer from the Tavant software side of things. But we do integrate. It's a cloud-based system, so we do integrate and we do bring in all of the claims cases, cases from dealers, cases from customers, and use that with an AI model to make sure that when someone's processing a claim, they've got all of that history information about the vehicle, about the customer, and ideally they're only processing the more complex type of failure type of claims that are coming in. And then when it comes to accounting, internal side of the business to calculate and ensure warranty is being accounted for. So typically we see accruals being calculated at the beginning of the year. So they're identifying, okay, hey, we're expecting to sell so much, and from those sales and those models, we're expecting warranty dollars to be about X amount from historical purposes. I think the concern is when it's a new model, it's a new vehicle, and yeah, it's been quality tested and driven around and worked on. Nobody really knows exactly how a customer is going to drive it and the types of conditions a customer is going to find themselves in. So what's warranty going to be costing for a new vehicle? And some potentials would be to look at similar types of models, similar types of vehicles that are used in a similar fashion for historical warranty cost information. The twin models, so using AI to kind of duplicate what might that vehicle or model go through and what those repairs might look like from warranty dollars and costs for parts and labor. So that's a great question. I mean, I think we could definitely talk a little bit more about that if you want to reach out after the webinar. And let's see, we'll take one more question here. How does the AI-driven solution for technicians prioritize or make repair recommendations? And how does it handle scenarios where there's incomplete diagnostic information? So another good question about AI and service repairs. From my experience, what we've seen manufacturers doing today that are actually ready to use AI, and they're not giving the technician a one-step, one solution answer. They're kind of giving them a multiple selections. So they're looking at percentages right now. If the AI model has great diagnostic information, it has great history information, and it feels real strongly about the type of repair recommendations it's giving, it's going to give it 100 or 90 to 100% accuracy rating that the technician can see. And then below that, it's going to start lowering down, and maybe 70 to 60% of the time it's this issue. So it's still going to ask the technician that, hey, can you use your sense of what they've experienced working on vehicles to also kind of make a decision here based on what they're seeing in person, because that might be a little bit different than what's being input into the AI model. So still expecting some human interaction, some human dependency, and training to come into this, but also giving some percentages for them to work on it and kind of work from as well. All right. That's all the questions I'm seeing coming in, unless anybody else is going to throw one more in there before we hang it up for today's webinar. I just want to say thanks to everybody for joining today. Like I mentioned, you will receive an email link so you can see a recording and further resources from the webinar and things that were mentioned today. And we definitely look forward to seeing you. This won't be our last webinar, so we look forward to seeing you again on the next one. And thanks to Leo for joining us today and giving us your inputs. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening, great afternoon, and a great morning, great day.